driving up a really steep winding mountain road,
Yeah.
you don't look at the steel guardrails and think like, wow, what a restriction on my freedom.
Right. Yeah, you definitely don't think that.
You think, thank goodness those are there so I don't plunge into the abyss.
Exactly. They don't slow you down. They actually give you the framework to drive with total confidence.
And that is the perfect lens for how event professionals need to view their business contracts. Today, we're doing a deep dive into using the Weddizer website for business purposes.
Oh, it is such a great resource.
It really is. Like, if you want to find how to deal with wedding events guidance, you just go right through the article section on their website. It's entirely related to the niche, and it is a total goldmine.
Absolutely.
Specifically, we're looking at their 2026 framework for vendor collaboration contracts. And, our mission today isn't to convince you that you need a contract. You already know that.
Yeah, that's day one stuff.
Right. Our goal is to audit your existing paperwork, extract the essentials, and make sure your legal safety net is actually bulletproof.
Because in the event industry, you're constantly relying on this whole web of other vendors, planners, florists, caterers, lighting techs.
It's a very fragile ecosystem.
It totally is. And a meticulously crafted contract is basically the only thing keeping that ecosystem from collapsing under pressure.
So let's look at the foundation. We all know we need a scope of work and payment terms, just to map out what's expected.
Right, the basics.
But looking at the Weddizer breakdowns, it's about going surgical. Like exact deliverables, specific loading zones, deposit milestones. But I have to ask, if I hand a florist a 5-page document detailing their arrival down to the minute.
Does it feel like micromanaging?
Yeah. Doesn't that risk starting the relationship on a really sour note?
It's a common fear, for sure. But think about the psychology of collaboration. Ambiguity is actually what breeds resentment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, when you dictate exactly who is bringing the heavy-duty extension cords or, who is responsible for breakdown, you aren't micromanaging. You are removing the cognitive load.
That makes a lot of sense.
Clarity is the highest form of professional respect. It just prevents that awful day of panic.
Right, that dreaded, I thought you were doing that scare down while the guests are literally arriving.
Exactly. And the same logic applies to the money. If deposit milestones and late fees are locked in, you bypass the awkward, hey, where's my check text message?
The contract plays the bad guy so the relationship doesn't have to.
Precisely. And once those rules are set, you have to look at the dark side of the coin. Like, what happens when things go completely sideways?
The disaster prep phase. So we're talking indemnification, force majeure, and termination clauses. I've always viewed these like a prenup for wedding vendors.
That is a perfect way to put it.
But I'll play devil's advocate again. Sitting down with a new caterer and immediately outlining how to fire them or sue them, that feels like a great way to ruin the vibe.
You'd think so, but establishing an exit strategy actually builds immense trust. It just removes the anxiety of the unknown. Take indemnification, for example.
Okay, walk me through that.
It is essentially a legal shield. It means one party formally agrees to absorb the financial hit if their specific mistake gets everyone sued.
Wow. So if a DJ's poorly taped wire trips a guest, the planner isn't the one paying the hospital bills.
Exactly. It isolates the liability instead of letting the blast radius take out the whole team.
That is huge. And with force majeure, we aren't just talking about a generic act of God clause anymore, are we?
Far from it. A modern force majeure actually pauses your contractual obligations when something genuinely uncontrollable happens.
Right, especially post-COVID.
Exactly. But the mechanics really matter here. In 2026, you can't use generic phrasing. You need to explicitly list the threats relevant to your region.
Like local wildfires or venue bankruptcies?
Yes, or supply chain failures. It dictates exactly how and when you can hit the pause button without being in breach of contract.
Okay, so we've covered the physical disasters. But in a creative space, like the wedding industry, the physical stuff isn't always the most valuable thing, right?
Not at all.
Your ideas, your designs, your client list, and that's your real currency.
The invisible assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where intellectual property and confidentiality clauses are doing the heavy lifting.
Let's use a real scenario. Say I spend like 6 months designing this breathtaking custom wedding aesthetic, but the photographer is the one who actually snaps the picture.
Oh, the classic tug of war.
Yeah. Who gets to use that photo for marketing? Because I want it for my website, but they literally took it.
Which is exactly why a rock-solid IP clause is mandatory. It legally solves the argument by defining ownership and licensing before the camera even flashes.
So how does that look in writing?
It might state that the photographer retains the copyright, sure, but formally grants the planner a perpetual license to use the images for marketing.
Engineers a win-win scenario.
Exactly. Pair that with a non-solicitation clause, and you also guarantee that your photographer isn't going to use the event to quietly poach your assistant.
Right. So, synthesizing all this advice from the Weddizer business guides, the strategy for 2026 is clear. Stop relying on downloaded templates with vague textbook legal jargon.
Yeah, you need to explicitly customize your clauses for the actual localized threats your business faces, and always have a legal professional audit it.
Because a contract isn't just a piece of paper.
No, it's the living operating manual for your business ecosystem.
Totally. But it does leave you with something to chew on as the industry evolves. If you're using AI software to generate those initial mood boards or custom event blueprints.
Oh yeah, the AI factor.
Right. How long until these intellectual property clauses have to decide not just who owns a photograph, but who actually owns the rights to the AI prompt that generated the entire wedding theme to begin with? Something to think about.